can say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. If this is true, fuck, this is like unprecedented. And on top of that, the twisting of the knife is the folks in Appleton are like, why wouldn't he do that here? It's a lot like when a guy remarries and all of a sudden he's doing the dishes and he's taking the trash out and he's on his game, and his ex is like, you never did that for me. He's happier in New York, and if that doesn't last long, no big deal, because they got what they wanted. I haven't seen your face in a while, mate.
Is that true? I just texted you a couple pictures of my face. But yeah, you're right. Not like moving pictures like this. It's nice to see you. I've been following you. Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
What the fuck is this? Oh, this is your golf outfit.
Yeah, but yeah. So in the last, really week, I've become a golfer. So you're looking at a golfer right now.
I'm looking at a guy who needs to go a little bit lighter on the inseam. I was giving Ryan Russillo a lot of shit about the 5-inch inseams. I think there's a middle ground here. Also, I don't like your polo. Oh, no, that's not a zipper. That's the sticker. You still have the sticker on. I'm assuming you returned this polo.
That's from the Dick's changing room. Now, it used to be at Dick's that you had to go get somebody to unlock the dressing room. Now you can just go in there, which I really like. That's a good change. Now, I had been asked by a brother-in-law to play golf. I don't play golf. And I went into Dick's, and what you're looking at there is about $250 worth of golf gear. And it's all Nike, like all of it matches. I don't really look like a golfer. I look like Steph Curry being a golfer, like I'm showing up for a Pro-Am. But what I decided is go out there and see if you can make solid contact before you drop 250 chickens on gear. Well, turns out your boy is just an athlete. And and I hit it straight, and I hit it pretty far. So I might be going back to Dick's for that outfit, but I didn't purchase that outfit. I would like your take generally, though, on how I look. I think it's too much of the same thing going on.
Yeah, I like outfit too. I don't like you matching the gray oversized khaki shorts with the gray Nike hat. And the brown doesn't go well with the gray. I go outfit too.
More of a
oversized blue short, gray shirt.
I don't understand why the golf short has to be so long. It's the opposite of the Russillo issue. I tried a 7-inch inseam the other day just for your standard short, and it was too short. I mean, I don't have the quads of a Ryan, but
yeah, you're kind of in this weird in between stage. You have very long legs, but no offense, they're not your most athletic feature. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't see them often, so I'm also kind of getting over the shock of seeing your legs.
Nobody does. Not even my family.
Got to be honest, your calves are pretty solid for what I would have imagined.
Holy shit. That's like Sonny Liston telling you got a good right hand, huh?
But the one critique is with shorts of this inseam variety, it's hard to tell if there's much definition in your quads, and your knees are about the width of your calves.
Yeah, very little, yeah.
Which is kind of not a good thing. You kind of want them to bow out. But overall, pretty impressive. And I would go with outfit too. So you're green lighting golf, huh?
I am. So I shot a 103. And like I texted Kyle, your brother, I asked him about shoes, if I needed to get shoes. It turns out you don't need to get shoes. You can just wear sneakers. And I was like, hey, 103 was kind of a lot of fun. Then it turns out we only played 17 holes instead of 18, so the 103 isn't as impressive. Yeah, 17. The 18th hole, one of the 18 holes was shut down. But I only used 2 balls. I hit 3 pars. My brother-in-law, bless his heart, hell of a nice guy, he's been practicing for like a year. He shanked the first drive left into the woods. I was straight down the middle. I was like, hey, beginner's luck. Well, that second par 3, I'm right on the green. Cowboy, I damn near hit a hole in one on 17. I mean, we couldn't see the ball.
You know what happens when you hit a hole in one?
What a sound.
Oh, you're not going to love this.
Yeah, what a sound, but you also have to buy everybody beer or a beverage of their choice.
Clubhouse.
Oh. Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say.
And not just your group. It's everybody who happens to be present.
Yeah.
You walk in the bar and you're like, okay, got to get you.
I would totally greenlight golf if I could rid the course of all the other people. That was a downer. and then rid myself of the guilt of being out of the house for like 5 hours. Like that was a lot. My lovely wife was supportive.
Yeah, you can't scale that. You can't scale that hobby. That's the problem with that hobby for you. It's unscalable. It's cool one day to shoot a 103 or 110 or whatever it would have been. But like to do that every week, that's going to be a problem for you. By the way, Make, while you were gone, I know you don't listen to our podcast, but we did this whole thing on this glorious Reddit thread about college football coaching rumors. And we're not talking about like guys leaving jobs for another job. We're talking about like who fucked who.
Nice.
Who banged whose wife, who made some improper payment to who, that sort of thing. Like one of my favorite rumors was Nick Saban hit a hole in one and told the caddy he'd kill him if he told anybody because he didn't want to buy anybody drinks. So I figured that's you. Hey, golf. Anything else on golf?
Yeah. One final thing. I listened to Greenlight Pod. I think the most recent one.
Oh boy.
And I think the obvious, kind of low energy from Studio J to start. That's just constructive criticism. I think the most sensible nickname.
Yeah, I got a timer on today, and we've been talking about you playing a golf game for 6 minutes.
So I think the most sensible Washington football team nickname is Pigskins. But I don't know if Pigskins would be insensitive because it's like, hey, we see what you're doing. You just still want to say go Skins and all that sort of stuff. But Pigskins, it's right there. Oh, and this whole slaughtering of the animals that we eat is probably going to not be looked highly upon centuries from now.
Oh, dude, you know what I'm going to do soon?
Veg?
I just talked about it. No, I just talked about it. I'm actually going to I'm going to do one of those things where you bury a pig and cook it all day.
Oh.
It's a Hawaiian thing. I'm going to do it next week.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
But that involves going to get a little pig that got killed. On the other hand, I'm still going to do it. Speaking of dead, I want to play Alive or Dead, man. We haven't been together for a while. I figured Matt and the boys could get involved early and often here. I asked Matt 5 minutes ago if he could string together an Alive or Dead, and I think he did so.
Yeah, I got some that are up your alley right here.
You know why I did this, Matt? Because it's Stanley Kubrick's birthday, and I don't know if he's alive or dead. I think he's dead.
He is dead, unfortunately. Yeah.
Long since dead?
Died in the early 2000s, I believe. I think Eyes Wide Shut was his last movie.
Oh,
1999.
very sexual.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tom Cruise is like a foot and a half shorter than Nicole Kidman. Of course, she wants some side dick.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Matt. If you could live in any Kubrick film, like live in that setting, because I was going through all the Kubrick films, like none of them are comfortable. Like it's either like Full Metal Jacket or 1984. Or was it?
It's probably one of those like British period pieces that he did, like Barry Lyndon about British high society. But yeah, not Full Metal Jacket, that's for sure.
I'd want to be a single guy in Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut is the answer. Yeah.
Okay, so anyways.
All right, I got one for each of you, okay?
Go ahead.
So this first one's for Reed. We all know about Reed's feelings about older actresses. Reed, Sophia Loren, 4-time Golden Globe winner, famous Italian actress, alive or dead?
Alive.
I think she's dead.
I think she's alive.
She's alive, 88 years old, still kicking it.
I knew that because she's not on my radar yet.
How old is she?
So.
Yeah, she's not on Reed's radar. How old is she?
88 years old.
Oh.
I just assumed that because she's not Raquel Welch, who is dead. Don't we?
That's who died.
Yeah.
That's who died. Because all the guys my dad's age were like, oh.
Yeah, she's the one on the poster in Shawshank, right?
Correct.
All right, Chris, this one's for you. And I saw you talking with somebody about the band on Twitter. How about Levon Helm?
Levon Helm's alive. No, he's dead.
Dead.
Reed?
He's dead.
He's dead.
Yeah.
He died in what? Like, hold on, let me guess the year. 2003?
I will also guess the year, and I will guess 2017.
It was like 2011 or 2012.
Okay,
Reed
so
gets
right
it.
in the middle.
Yeah, 2012.
He was in Shooter, if you recall. He was Gunny in Shooter.
One of
World
the great,
ain't what it seems, is it, Gunny?
one
Guy
of the
did
great
a fucking movie with
drummer
Mark
singers.
Wahlberg.
Yes. All right, and then this week we had, Oppenheimer about one of the great inventors, scientists, Macon. Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the internet, alive or dead?
Dead.
Still alive, still kicking it.
He needs to do something about. You know what Glenn Youngkin did, Macon?
No. What?
You know.
I know he's on a waiting list for actually, I shouldn't say. What?
But you know about the porn thing.
I don't know about Glenn's porn thing.
What a fucking masquerade this is.
I don't know about.
You gotta show ID to fucking have to surf the web and get your rocks off now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right.
In Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Virginia.
If I got an,
You use pay sites, obviously. So
if I have an IP address in Virginia, I have to show identification.
that's right. Oh, something that's a little bit political in nature. You got a hello today? I got two things for you.
Great Britain. Hello.
Yeah, Great Britain, bad day for you. Suez Canal seized in 1954, and the Maldives achieved their independence, I think in the 60s, all today. So Great Britain, it's a bad day for you guys.
But
July 26th.
you know about liability and such? Like, is it the sort of thing where Great Britain is like, all right, Maldives, if you love it, set it free sort of thing? Like, I no longer have to worry about the Maldives, like a graduation ceremony. You're on your way.
Make, you had a red light.
Red light basketball fundamentals, because he who cannot dribble just agreed to a record 5-year, $304 million Supermax extension, and that's Jalen Brown. And I'm actually going to zag. We make fun of Jalen Brown a lot for not being able to dribble in traffic, out of traffic. But I like this for the Celts. I like continuity in the year 2023 in major professional sports. Tatum is 25, I think. Brown is 26, I think. Run it back. You keep getting to the East Finals. You keep getting to the NBA Finals. Keep those two guys together and surround them with different pieces. It's bound to work eventually. But $304 million is a ton of money. Good for that guy.
Matt doesn't like it.
I don't like it. If he's your second best player, your first best player has to be like one of the best players in the whole league in order to win a title, which I don't think Tatum is. And I'm not even sure Brown was their second best player last year. Like, advanced stats prefer Robert Williams, prefer Derek White. It's just a lot of money to pay him. And, like, who are you bidding against? The maximum that another team could offer him is tens of millions less. Like, why does he have to get that full max? I don't like it for him, for Boston, and I doubt that Jalen Brown plays all 5 years of that contract as a Celtic.
What is a little silly, I think, and Windhorst talked about it on this show, is that he was eligible for the Supermax because a bunch of media members like ourselves voted him to an All-NBA team, All-NBA second team, which cost Boston more money.
Right. And if I'm Jamal Murray this season, I'm like going to be contract eligible at the end of it. I'm doing everything I can to make third team All-NBA because you're making $30 million extra dollars and would probably sign what will be the largest contract in NBA history next season.
He had a bad playoffs, but I really do like keeping Tatum and Brown together. What else are you going to do? You got to spend the
Eight turnovers in the biggest game of the year.
Hey, let's rewind a year. He was the best player for the Celtics in the finals.
No, he's a lot of fun, and it is kind of like an everyman thing to watch a guy dribble the ball off his knee and be, a supermax kind of player in the NBA.
And the way the contracts work in the NBA is funky. Like a few years back, Mike Conley signed the biggest contract in NBA history. It doesn't mean you're the best player. It just means that the CBA happened to work out with perfect timing for you.
By the way, are we red lighting the NBA in general? Because in the span of a week, Giannis, after seeing PSG's Mbappe get paid or offered to be paid hundreds of millions of dollars, like what is it, $700 million or something crazy like that?
Yep.
This is like CEO money to go play for Al Hilal. And Giannis got on Twitter and was like, Al Hilal, say that 5 times fast, you can take me because I look like Mbappe, which was a funny thing. But also, I mean, like coupled with LeBron posting the Forrest Gump running to Saudi Arabia. GIF, I don't know, I caught a lot of shit for my pronunciation of that word. It feels like when two of the best players in the world are willing to make the jump, or at least joke about it. A lot of truth is said in jest, man. You know, I think these guys are trying to send a message that like, hey, if you come knocking, I'll answer the door. Is the NBA in trouble, Matt?
I hope not, but it honestly wouldn't shock me to see, like, the NBA has a max individual player salary cap, which foreign teams theoretically could go way over. Like, there was talk back in 2008 that Kobe would sign with an Italian team for like $75 million in a year. Like, there's nothing to keep a Saudi Arabian team or a Chinese team from offering a player $100 million for a single season. And if that happened, it would be disruptive, that's for sure.
The bottom line matters, and the money is the bottom line. And what I've learned over the last year, whether it was with golf or soccer or now basketball, possibly at some point down the line, is I've just rarely in my adult life seen guys make the right decision when they're faced with a choice between, keeping their morals or accruing hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, everywhere in society, people make choice number two. Why do we think basketball players are going to be any different? And I don't care how much activism guys do domestically or that sort of thing. We saw it with China, and you don't want to talk about China because that's kind of a conservative talking point. But, what was going on in China was fucked up, and guys had no problem going there and growing the game. Nobody's going to stop because, they're killing fucking journalists in Saudi Arabia. I think the NBA's got something to think about on the horizon here. Can I red light PJ Fleck real quick before we get into the NFL? I just want to red light PJ Fleck. There was an article, and it was in the group text, Macon. We can add you in if you want to see it. But front office sports. Now, on the heels of, the Pat Fitzgerald firing, I think some people that didn't like their college coaches, they're like, all right, I see an opportunity here. I'm going to go talk to front office sports or whoever it is. Now, to be fair to PJ Fleck, most of this article was, general, toxicity, intimidation, which sounds like run-of-the-mill college football. Different rules for different players. All right. And a lot of people unsolicited use the word cult. I can't imagine why. I've never looked at PJ Fleck and thought cult, or have I? Every time I've ever seen him run onto the field or row the boat or his 100 acronyms. I really don't like college football coaches with acronyms. That's always been my thing. If you have over like 5 acronyms, I don't trust you. If I walk into the team meeting the first day and you got 5 to 7 acronyms for me, I'm tuning you out. Because I don't need, a bunch of shorter ways to say things like ain't done shit, ADS. That was one of PJ Fleck's acronyms. FIST, family, invested, same time. Keep it tight. Keep it tight. It's kind of an acronym rule breaker there. WAS, what's at stake? I mean, there's 15 fucking pages of this thing. They got the 3-ring binder that he was giving the players at Minnesota. He's been there 6 years. These guys have gotten the same fucking binder for 6 years. It's got acronyms like he's here, hydrate, eat, sleep. Okay? He has 4 pages of quotes. I'm going to read a couple. 1 million people die each week. You weren't one of them. Okay? You have $15 in your pocket. Top 8% wealthiest in the world. How much do you have in your pocket, PJ Fleck? He gives him this binder. It's not just the row the boat mantra, which he actually parlayed into a book. So if you write a book about yourself because you beat Wisconsin a couple times and you turned Minnesota around, first double-digit win season in 100 years or whatever, it's a big deal, but it's not like write a book big. We've kind of gone through this. Where's the Mendoza line for people that should be able to write a book? I mean, here's the worst part. They had a strength coach that used to rep the guys on clapping when Fleck came in the room. Okay? He'd leave and come back in if the applause wasn't good enough. Is this Michael Scott?
Great question. A quick interlude. Cowboy Reed's inbox was on my screen when I walked into the studio, and so I was faced with either searching it or not searching it. So I searched it, is what I did. Yeah. I did Chris Long, cool, funny boss, and there was one hit. And I decided that's where I would stop. I didn't want to open the thread, but there was a hit of you and cool, funny boss, like exactly what Michael did. My favorite PJ.
So I did that. Are you saying?
Reed has emails in his history, in his inbox, that reflect his liking you.
No,
I do that
way,
time
Reed.
to time. I do that time to time just in case someone does hack my email, and then so I can use it as evidence. So I'll just email random people
Smart.
and say and talk how good I work with. How great everyone I work with is.
Cool, funny boss.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to lie about you, but
My favorite PJ Fleck acronym is family. Did you see this one?
Oh, I saw family.
Family is forget about me, I love you.
Yeah.
Which is to say, you're not an individual. Look at your teammate. Love is love.
But it's like ADS. Fuck. Ain't done shit. ADS. It take the same amount of time to say. Okay. WAS. What's his stake? It's the same amount of time to say. Like functionally, these are not actually acronyms. Like they don't shorten the phrase. When he signed on at Western Michigan, he put out a video that is. It's from 2013. I think it borders on parody. I mean, it's like an Onion video, and it's like a college football coach being a caricature of a college football coach. When they were at Western Michigan, they played For Whom the Bell Tolls on third down, which is obviously a Metallica song. And he he directed the student body in a dance that he made up that they had to complete every time this song came on. It's 3 fingers, and it's like one of those big like Wild Stallions guitar imaginary riffs. It goes like this. Dun, 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 dun. He actually has a Fleck bank that you can build up currency in by praying with him. Like after school, well, not after school, because you never go to school if you're a college football player. You don't have any fucking time. You only have time to go to practice and to pray with Coach PJ Fleck. Or if he really likes you, you build up currency in the Fleck bank. And this is the only thing that could get him into trouble. Certain guys would fail drug tests, but if they had money in their Fleck bank, they were good. It's kind of like the criminal justice system, but it's like there's a Fleck bank. So
Prayer actually works.
Yeah, prayer works. The whole thing. So I'm not a big fan of PJ Fleck. I wanted to red light him. All right, let's talk about the NFL a little bit. I got a best guy, worst guy. My worst guy since I saw you, Macon, is Rodney Thomas the first. I think that's his name because all the headlines were Rodney Thomas II's dad kills a bald eagle. And I felt bad for Rodney Thomas. It was actually the day after he was one of the 2 players on that team who were debuting their new uniforms, and he looked great. It's a real vote of confidence when they call you down to do the uniform thing, like preseason or some B-roll for the jumbotron, because you feel like you're on the team and you're probably going to play a lot. And then the very next day, this guy gets hit with the bombshell that his dad killed America's bird, and he didn't just kill America's bird; he killed a named eagle. The eagle's name was Sam. He had been in the Pittsburgh area for 20 years. And usually I like to go through a checklist. The first order on the checklist of whether you should kill an animal or not is the animal protected? Is it patriotic? It's like the 2 or 3 P's. You want to do an acronym? The 3 P's of killing an animal. Protected, patriotic. Are people going to be passionate about this thing? Yeah, all 3, dude. 4. You got another
prison time, ? And
and there might be prison time.
Faces up to a year. Yeah.
So, I mean, they waited 2 months to drop this news because they knew that, the town would riot if they found out that it was, Rodney Thomas, whoever it was. You'd have to have, a black SUV full of police to protect this guy. People freak out about this thing. I don't know what possesses a guy to kill a bald eagle with an airsoft gun. Any ideas?
Is there a worse animal to come across dead than a bird? I know it's pretty easy to dispose of, but it's oh shit, this belongs up in the sky. The way they should die is just flying up into heaven, you know? But instead they land on the ground, and you have to come across them in not their natural habitat. They have the picture of the bird all over the internet, and it's sad. It's very sad to look at and a little gross.
The only reason I could think of that, maybe would bring someone to shoot an eagle with an airsoft gun is maybe he was trying to help the eagle. Maybe the eagle's attacking another bird or predator.
Maybe it was attacking a golden eagle. Maybe
and Rodney Thomas the first is, I'm going to help this eagle out. I'm going to pop the other bird. He shoots his gun and, shit.
I have no idea what possessed this guy to do this. Talk about a too high shell. I don't know if any of y'all get that, but some of you guys watch football. His son's a safety. So anyways, bad deal. They waited 2 months to release his name. And also the worst part of it, the bald eagle, not unlike the golden eagle, is a monogamous bird, and it leaves behind 2 children.
Oh,
so, you got a wife, 2 kids up in the nest right now, and there's nobody, so it's a bad deal. And, I shot off that, golden eagles don't get enough credit take like a week or 2 ago. And then this happens. Like I had a fucking fire take loaded up, and I can't even do anything with it because now the temperature's too hot. People are saying to read the room. Golden Eagles got a big wingspan.
You had 3 bad choices of words there. Shot off,
loaded up,
fired, and loaded.
Yep.
Exactly. I didn't mean to. But golden eagle, 200 miles an hour. Bald eagle, 100 mile an hour. Golden eagle, bigger wingspan, longer lifespan, the whole thing. You don't hear about golden eagles getting shot by airsoft guns. And so, I mean, like, I still want to stand by that take, but I want to also recognize how terrible Rodney Thomas the first is for what he did. There's just some animals you can't kill, man. There's some animals you can't kill. Read the room. People are telling me to read the room. Rodney Thomas needs to read the room. There's a lot of ideology behind this bird. You were on Outkick within like 3 minutes. Breitbart, Daily Caller. I mean, like when I was Googling this story, it was all that. It was all that.
We have a birdhouse that sits on our deck. It's man-made. It's a birdhouse. It's, I don't know, 2 feet by 2 feet. It's got a metal roof on it. A nice little spot. And this Bluebird family has nested inside this birdhouse, and it is a treat. We see the family every day. But I was talking to, I guess a 2-year-old kid. But I was talking to her, and I said, how do they know? How do all the other birds know that the bluebirds live in this house, like that they've claimed it as their own? And then I thought, heck, maybe it's kind of like humans. Like, how does anybody else know that we belong here? Sure, we have a recorded deed at the courthouse, but when you step away and think about it, it's all mayhem. This is all make-believe where we are. Point of the story is these bluebirds.
Personal property to myth, eh?
Yeah, these bluebirds are gorgeous. Got a beautiful blue hue to them. A nice like burnt orange chest. Gorgeous birds. Bluebird should be the official bird.
It's like you got a Karl Marx thing going on with birds, man. Like just move into whatever birdhouse you want.
Yeah, all the other birds there. We got all the bird feeders, so all the other birds come by. The finches, the cardinals. The mourning doves, which I just thought was morning, like morning, afternoon, evening. Nah, it's morning like I'm sad, mourning dove. At any rate, they all come around and they come near the birdhouse, but everybody knows to respect the bluebirds, and not an imposing bird, to respect the bluebirds in the birdhouse.
Joseph Soren.
Nailed it.
Okay, anyways. All right.
Listen to this second story. There was a bald eagle nesting in a development. Builder couldn't build anything because there were bald eagles nesting. And I tell you, if it wasn't right next to Licking Hole Creek. Are you familiar with Licking Hole Creek here locally? If you're not familiar, go ahead and Google Licking Hole Creek, which is a creek that we have nearby.
Here's my best guy, and this just happened today. I'm giving out my best guy award to Travis Kelce. Okay, like we saw this today. I don't know if you guys are Swifties, if you guys find Taylor Swift attractive, like, or if you have a crush on Taylor Swift, but evidently Travis Kelce does. And the way it goes when you're like a Kansas City Chief or something, or one of these really famous teams, and you're one of the famous players, you get to go to pretty much any concert you want in the stadium, and you get to meet people. It's like my kids are obsessed with Ed Sheeran right now, okay? And they want to see Ed Sheeran. Like Meg said, I saw Ed Sheeran's coming to D.C. or something. I was like, no, we're not going to D.C. We're going in Philly. Like, where there's a 3% chance that I can get backstage and my kids can meet Ed Sheeran. That's the setup you have when you played somewhere. And for me, I'm kind of stretching it. But Travis Kelce certainly has access to whoever's in the building. You know, that's the way I got to meet Chris Stapleton in Charlottesville, that sort of thing. Like, you got to kind of try to triangulate the meetup. And Taylor Swift, evidently, unbeknownst to Travis, does not talk to anyone before or after the show to conserve her voice. But Travis had, because Taylor Swift has some friendship bracelet thing, I'm not really familiar with her catalog, he had put his phone number on a friendship bracelet and was going to give it to Taylor Swift, which I think is a real Rizzy move. And albeit probably not a move that Taylor Swift is going for, just like knowing what little I know about her. Wouldn't they be a great couple? And aren't you? I know you're not a big Travis Kelce fan, Macon, but this is great. I mean, shoot.
I'm not a.
What about when Sitsy Pass fucking took his shot at Margot Robbie? You were all over it.
Travis Kelce's hair is not long enough. Taylor Swift needs a cat with a mane, with flowing locks, with, you know, C-long New England era. I don't dislike Travis Kelce. I don't see it as a match. I appreciate the shot shooting. I sure do. I don't see it on paper.
Now, I think there'd be a great breakup song. I got a couple titles for you.
Okay.
Seems Like It's Over.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the middle of the field.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
Move tight end, which Travis Kelce's not a move tight end, but, you know, like, you got to move. You got to leave my house. And then I actually got to give credit to somebody on Instagram here. I saw this one. 87 red. I don't know if she's leaving his text messages on red or what, but that got some play. I think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift would be a great couple. My mom thinks Travis Kelce's probably too manly for Taylor Swift. I think he's probably too tall. The only person that she dated that was like over 6 foot was John Mayer, and he's got short guy energy. So I'm not saying that like he's a little man's complex, but he's like really artistic and good looking. Like, that's not really a tall guy thing. So I think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift would be a great couple. Do you like that couple more than you like Tom Brady and Irina Shayk?
No. Yeah, I'm team Tom and Irina. Are we saying Irina? Is that how we're saying it?
Irina. Yeah.
I look at ages. So Tom's 45, Giselle's 43, Irina is 37.
37.
That feels about right. I'm proud of Tom. Tom could have dipped his toes in the 24-year-old waters, and he's going with a nice, mature gal in Irina.
Well, you know what's so funny? Like, a year ago, Tom Brady, 44, playing in the NFL, talking about playing until he's 50. Like, I was thinking things like, Tom's going to retire and be dead in 20 years. Like, that's jarring, you know, for a football player. I mean, he'd probably live a long time, avocados and wheatgrass and all that shit. But, you know, his age made me feel like he was a really old guy. When in reality, 45 is not that old. Like, we're about to be 45. I'm going to be just as immature and all that stuff as I am now. He actually appears younger now that he's not playing football. And he appears younger because of what you just said. I mean, like, he had every opportunity to do the old guy move, like the Robert De Niro thing, and, you know, wife up a 23-year-old. But, like, 37's perfect. You know, 45, 37, he maintains his elder statesman status, but he doesn't do the thing that makes guys look goofy. You know, only Leo really pulls it off. And I'm not even sure if he pulls it off. People notice. Tom Brady, 8-year deficit, pretty good. Also, if you go down the list of her past boyfriends, she's all over the place. Famous people don't have types. You ever notice that? Like, Kate Beckinsale will be with some great-looking guy, and then Pete Davidson the next day. By the way, I think it's Kate Beckinsale's birthday. I want to wish her a happy birthday. Big fan of Kate Beckinsale.
Big fan. I'm pretty sure it's Kate Beckinsale. Big fan, super fan over there.
Whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. I mean, no, I'm a big fan. I don't read her name a lot. I just put it into Google and do an image
Nah,
search.
that's
Okay,
fair.
so yeah, Irina, Shayk has been with Italian businessmen, the Lincoln Park drummer, a Brazilian model, an art dealer, Ronaldo, Bradley Cooper, Kanye West, and now Tom. Kanye West is the one that's like, you know, anyways, Bradley Cooper, at least he's got the Super Bowl because, you know, he's probably looking at this whole thing like, fuck you, 41-33, whatever it was.
Big Philly fan.
Also, they had like a real sleepover. Like he picked her up, like he had to get permission at the Bel Air Hotel and drove her to his house and then didn't emerge till 9:30 in the morning. I love this.
I'm
It's
sorry.
wholesome.
Let me back you up. He had to get permission from whom?
I don't know, but it feels like a sleepover when you go like pick somebody up. Most people sleep over now after a party or that sort of thing. Like you meet up with somebody at the bar, you go home, you do the thing, and then, you know, like you grab that person in Uber. But like he picked her up, drove her home. He picked her up in the daytime, drove her home at 9:30. I actually am a big fan of this move by Tom Brady. Big fan of this move. Way better than dating Kim Kardashian. I believe in that curse. So, little Giants stuff. Well, Giants adjacent stuff. Kadarius Toney hurt. Toney might not be up for the first game. I really believe this about Toney. I think he can be the guy for them there outside Travis Kelce. I mean, that sounds obvious, but what I mean is like a guy that changes the way they do things offensively, and that a guy that whose skill set is worth altering a little bit of how you do things to get him the ball in space. And I'm just a big fan of his game. I think he's got a lot of potential. You know, what's interesting about the Chiefs, Travis Kelce's underpaid. We talked about this at length last week with the running back market. The tight end market's a little fucked up too. You know, I'll use the example of Tyreek Hill, who's making like 16 mil more a year than Travis Kelce. Same net yardage. Well, not net yardage because I think Hill's up around 1,700 with his carries and that sort of thing. I don't know what Travis's net yardage is, but these guys are both game changers, and it'd be hard to differentiate who has a bigger effect on the offense between Tyreek and Travis, and he's making 16 mil less. He has a ton of leverage right now. You know, you look at the Chiefs, Toney getting hurt, who are the options outside of that? Now, Mahomes has been able to, you know, make chicken soup out of chicken shit, a lot like Daniel Jones. We'll get to him in a second on a major league level. But, you know, like you going into camp, who else is there? And, you know, if I'm Travis Kelce, your team is strapped for cash. There's no cap room, so he's probably not going to ask for a new deal or something like that. He also didn't seem like that kind of guy. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but he has a lot of leverage, man. And, you know, with the Chris Jones holdout, I don't know how that's going to end. I mean, you look at their defensive line. We're doing our team reports right now in the AFC West. And, you know, with the departure of Frank Clark, like they're going to need guys to step up. Chris Jones is kind of the whole thing there. So the Chiefs, you look at the state of that franchise, and they're talking about winning multiple championships, right? Like not in a cocky way, but like Patrick Mahomes is like, yeah, I want to win more,
No.
and that sort of thing. Yeah, and you know, like the way to win more is keeping the gang together, and it's really hard in today's era of football. And they've kind of stumbled into it with Patrick Mahomes taking less. I mean, right now, like a lot of people are making a big deal about the fact that he's the 8th highest paid quarterback as a result of the Justin Herbert deal. And that'll probably change again with Joe Burrow. So you look at that and you say, okay, they've got this quarterback who's otherworldly, but he's getting paid like, you know, a fringe top 10 guy. And then on the other side, you've got, you know, Chris Jones who wants more and a tight end who's grossly underpaid. So whenever that comes to, you know, to the table, you get to really see how complicated it is to keep a great team together. And they've got 3 blue chip players that they have to get paid, and one of them's underpaid, one of them wants more money, and one of them is underpaid, and I don't even know if he knows it. So it's like, it's just when you look at how hard it is to win in the NFL and do it year after year, look at the Chiefs situation right now. Everything's fine, but it's really close to not being fine. And I think it's interesting. With the Giants, the Saquon news that they were shopping him, you know, like, I sat in the tweet box for 10 minutes and I wanted to tweet at RG3, but I'm just not interested in arguing with people on Twitter anymore. I'll just say it now. RG3's quote was something to the effect of, if Saquon Barkley earns all his incentives on this deal, he's still going to make like $28 million less than Daniel Jones or something like that. And I'm like, welcome to the NFL, man. Like, I know we're talking about running backs and everybody's pounding the table and we know it's unfair, but unless you have a solution right now, not like a solution in 7 years when the next CBA is up, I don't want to hear that Daniel Jones made his money on the back of Saquon Barkley. It sounds kind of pocket watchy. Like, listen, I understand there's some players that people feel like they can criticize. You know, Kirk Cousins has been that guy for a long time. He's not on Twitter. He doesn't read anything. He's not cool, so nobody's going to get his back. Daniel Jones is the same thing. He's, you know, he probably has a flip phone like fucking Andrew Luck. And if I had a flip phone, I would throw it at the TV every time RG3 was on, because I think that was really disrespectful. I mean, like, there's a way to make that point without, you know, slandering a guy who was throwing the ball to fucking shadow program picture guys last year. And, you know, now he's got Darren Waller. He's going to have Saquon, hopefully, although he could be a trade deadline kind of guy. He won a playoff game last year where he had to throw the ball a lot. Saquon had 58 yards. So I'm not discounting the fact that it's unfair. I'm not discounting the fact that Saquon Barkley should be paid. But what I am trying to drive home is, like, when I got in the NFL, I was told, don't pocket watch. And there's a difference between pointing out discrepancies and that sort of thing and having a tinge of resentment attached to your take. And I just, like, you know, Daniel Jones is not the best quarterback in the league, but I think he earned his money when it comes to the market at hand right now. And that's the thing. The quarterback market's different. So unless you're suggesting that they should have let Daniel Jones walk and drafted Will Levis at like 24 and given the rest of the money to Saquon Barkley, I don't know what you're saying. You know, all you're pointing out is that the system is fucked up and you are hating the player, not the game. You know, so don't hate Daniel Jones, because I think Daniel Jones has done a lot to earn respect. Not to mention the fact that you talk about, like, you know, Daniel Jones has earned this on the back of Saquon Barkley. Maybe you meant to say Brian Dable, because everything changed when Brian got there, not when you know, it's not like Saquon got there this year. I know he's healthy for the first time in a couple years, but I think the biggest catalyst for Daniel Jones has been Brian Dable. And, you know, if you want to make that point, cool. But to me, it kind of seemed a little pocket watching. And I see a lot of these takes right now with Daniel Jones and that sort of thing. I got respect for the guy. Get your money. I'm not going to be giving you the how could you take. How could you maximize your earning potential? Because that's what we all do. And RG3, for instance, his rookie year, Alfred Morris went for more yards than Saquon Barkley. Now, I know he didn't get paid that year, and I think RG3, had he stayed healthy, would have been a really fun player to watch, and a guy I like. We've had RG3 on the show. But are you saying you should have given some of that money back to Alfred Morris? Like, no. That's not the way this thing works. So I know it's not apples to apples, but an interesting kind of comparison. And I'm not saying Alfred Morris is Saquon Barkley. But what I am saying is that the quarterback position is the core of everything you do offensively. And the last piece right now is usually a running back, whether he's really great or not. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to vent about that. Former Eagle taken up for a fringy top 10 quarterback who's making more money than I ever hoped to make. That's not a take I'd usually fire off, but I feel for the guy.
It's a copycat league. We hear that 3 million times this season, and the Chiefs just won a Super Bowl, and the running back's Pacheco, a 7th rounder. If the model were the Tennessee Titans, if it was Derrick Henry with a Ryan Tannehill level quarterback, then everybody would follow that blueprint. But that's not it. It's a quarterback who can win you games, and DJ proved that he can do that with, as you said, Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins and that crew. And the Giants made the decision that they're going to have a better chance of winning moving forward with continuity at the quarterback position than the running back position. The thing that stinks for Saquon is he can go out and run for 1,800 yards, and he probably has even less leverage a year from now simply because he'll be a year older. I thought it was awesome that he signed when he did, because he could have taken that deal a month from now and missed camp. He probably could have taken that deal, well, even 2 weeks from now and missed time. But it was his prerogative to say, I want to get back with the guys as soon as possible. Writing's on the wall. I'm going to get what I'm going to get. So that part was really cool. But look around. Every organization has different as people with different gigs who make more money than some other cat. It's not a talent thing. It's about how organizations are set up.
Yeah, and most organizations don't have a salary cap. They have a budget, and that budget grows. And a lot of times you can look at the CEO or the president and be like, people need to make more money. There's money here for people to make, and they're doing the work to deserve that money. But, in the NFL, there is this thing called the salary cap. And, when you talk about quarterbacks and arming them with weaponry, we've been making excuses for Lamar Jackson, rightfully so, for a few years now. I'm a huge fan of Lamar Jackson. I'm excited about them this year. I'm on the Ravens over win total, the whole thing. I love Lamar. But, the first thing you hear is he doesn't have the weapons. And, if you look at New York last year, they won a playoff game with those guys we mentioned at wide receiver. The problem was not the quarterback. The reason they couldn't win the second playoff game was not the quarterback. Now, two things can be true. They're not mutually exclusive. Daniel Jones is not the best quarterback in the league, and they're not winning because of him. I think they're going to add some pieces here offensively this year that are going to help a lot. Darren Waller, you already hear about the connection they have in the red zone and the whole thing in camp. Supposedly it's the thing of beauty. That guy's going to be just as important to Daniel Jones as Saquon Barkley. So, it's just the way things go. And if you want to talk about the Giants as we get into our extensions, because we got hit with a rash of extensions, Andrew Thomas, big deal, 5-year deal. Interesting for a few reasons. Number one, it's interesting because, it's like Gettleman's Angels, as Nolan put it earlier. I've talked about this before. It's like Gettleman takes a lot of shit, and rightfully so, but he sure as hell drafted Andrew Thomas. He drafted, Dexter Lawrence. He drafted Daniel Jones. The differentiating factor in the NFL is winning. And for a quarterback especially, it's winning, because you can't look good if you're not winning. But these other position players, the compounding momentum of winning turns these guys into better players. And it's like no surprise that Andrew Thomas, improved as much as he did. Same thing with Dexter Lawrence, who just has emerged as this elite inside guy. And these are all Gettleman's guys. And Andrew Thomas getting paid, I'm really happy for him. As a draft pick, who was a high draft pick, started slow. He started slow. Like after that first year, people were like, I don't know. It's great to see a guy turn his career around and reap the benefits of it. He's got a 5-year deal. And it's interesting because Laramie Tunsil keeps resetting the market every 3 years. That's been his kind of MO, is like, I'm going to take the shorter deals and I'm going to get to free agency quicker. And there's two schools of thought here. The one school of thought is you want security and that sort of thing, or do you want to make more money and bet on yourself in 3 years? I think Andrew Thomas, I can't speculate like fully, but Daniel Jones getting paid 4 years, you're going to have to do his deal again in that span of time. Andrew Thomas staggering that deal a little bit gives them a little bit more freedom to work the cap. I don't know if that's like the trade-off there for Andrew Thomas. Like, hey, we're going to make you fucking richer than you're going to make more money than Trent Williams. The trade-off is we want this thing in a 5-year deal format. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just interesting to think about. And usually new regimes shed the past regime's mistakes. Obviously, Dable came in, Shane came in, I nailed his name, and they said, I want to keep these guys. And so good for Andrew Thomas, good for the Giants. They are building something there. As far as NFC East teams that I hate, and I never hated the Cowboys because I played for the Eagles, they're probably top of the list. The Giants are probably, I don't care.
Oh.
I don't care. I don't hate the Giants. We beat the Giants. No, I'm not flexing. It wasn't like some big accomplishment. I'm happy for you, Big Blue. I'm happy for Giants fans. Okay. Uchenna Nwosu. I nailed it. I've liked this guy, and good for him. He got paid. He was on a 2-year deal in Seattle, which I think is really smart of them, right? They're not going to have to compete with the market. They can re him up in a year. Obviously 9.5 sacks last year, very productive. When I watch him on tape, he's not an elite rusher, right? But what he has is he's got this bag of tricks that transcends just the pass game. He's not just a rusher. He's kind of like, he's got linebacker sensibilities playing edge. And we see a lot of guys with that. You can count the guy that they picked over him in LA, and Khalil Mack, and that, because he's not really a defensive end. He's like an outside backer. But this guy has off the ball backer sensibilities. Like, you can see it. Anything that an offense throws at him, he knows how to sort that information quickly. When it comes to like a tight end off the ball, a lot of guys will see that tight end, but then they can't react once that bin block comes across. I mean, you look at like a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, he gets hurt on a play like that. Nwosu would pick a side, make a play. He's going to diagnose things. He's going to come off of coverage to make sacks. I mean, look, the first Denver game when they went to Seattle, Nwosu made 2 really big plays. One of them, off ball in coverage, comes off, sacks Russell Wilson. The other one down at the goal line, forces a fumble in the run game. He crossed the tight end's face. He can help you in a lot of ways. So I really like this guy. Good for him. And the best part about it for him is, as a former player, you're very conditioned to think like it's him or me. You guys, it's binary. You either hate me or you love me. And in that situation in LA, they kind of chose Khalil Mack over him, and maybe everybody on the Zoom would have, but he was quietly very motivated to perform well in Seattle. And if you look at his productivity, he was more productive than Khalil Mack last year. And I'm not saying that he's a better player, but it's got to feel good for him rather, to get this bag and to put together the kind of year he put together. And Seattle's really good at this, man. Schneider, Carroll, they're really good at putting a team together, and they continue to do it. Like, there was a time a couple years ago when we were like, Pete Carroll's dead, man. Like, he's just, the game's passed him by, the whole thing. They're drafting Jordan Brooks. Like, why would you draft an off the ball linebacker? They don't let Russ cook. They're the problem, not Russ. The whole thing. All they've done is rebuilt the thing, and it's been pretty impressive watching them do it. Trayvon Diggs, 19-4 a year. He's tied with Lattimore for 5th in the market. Big deal for him. And like in the NFC East, you can't ignore the fact that coaches and GMs think this way. Who do I have to beat to win? To get into the dance, to win the division. Like you look at Buffalo trying to chase Kansas City, because that's another level of hierarchy in the NFL, is like winning the AFC. And that cat and mouse game changes every couple of years, because before you know it, Kansas City, we're going more gap scheme, we're going to pound the ball, the receivers aren't the focal point anymore, that sort of thing. And you saw the way the Bills beefed up their pass rush, that sort of thing. It's the same thing with Diggs, and obviously he was going to get re-signed, but you've got to beat Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. And you don't want to be in a shootout with those guys every game. And you were anyways last year, but if you can help it, you want your best player in the back end, your biggest ball hawk, locked up. 19-4 a year, good for him. I can remember as a rookie, this was like the first year of the podcast. I remember Brian, who was booking the guests for me at the time, along with myself, was like, hey, do you want this Trayvon Diggs kid? It's Stephon Diggs' brother. And I was like, yeah, sure. I guess so. He was doing a deal with Gillette, so it was like a promoted interview. And he popped on, and he was the nicest kid in the world, but also not a guy that I thought would rise to these heights, and he's been great. So good for him. It's a big shadow. Megan used to bust my balls about, she used to call me Shadow, because he's nodding his head. Because of my dad, imagine having a brother that good and entering the league a couple years after, and this guy's setting the league on fire. On a lesser scale, I can remember when Kyle got in the league, he was real nervous because he was filling my dad's shoes, and he's got a brother who's playing in the NFL. That's a tough deal, and he's really made the most of his opportunity. I got nothing but respect for the guy.
I said shadow one time because you called me heat stroke because I nearly died on the tennis court at the state tournament, for crying out loud. I'm not a mean guy. I wasn't nodding my head. I was shaking my head.
I don't think it was one, but Titus Howard is the Houston tackle. He's a right tackle. 18.7 a year is that deal. 4th in the right tackle market, right below Ramczyk and above Brian O'Neill. $125 million in protection going down to Houston this year for Stroud, and I think that's great. I think you can criticize the way they drafted with Will Anderson and giving up that much and that sort of thing, but they obviously have a plan. We want our quarterback of the future. We want the trenches solidified, especially the offensive line. And over the next 1 or 2 years, signing guys like Robert Woods, affordable pieces that are going to help a young quarterback. It's going to give way strategically to signing bigger splash players and trying to build this thing up. So I think it's a really good process by Houston. We're big fans of what they're doing down there. We're really excited about that. And one of your favorite coaches is down there, Matt. What's his name?
Coach Ryans. Yeah, I'm excited. Did you see the breaking news while we were recording this? By the way,
I didn't.
I'll just read it. Aaron Rodgers voluntarily took a $35 million pay cut on his 2-year deal with the Jets. This will allow the Jets to acquire more talent than they would have under the contract they assumed from Green Bay. No team sport player is thought to have revised his contract in such a team-focused way in the past.
He makes less than Daniel Jones now.
Well, it's a lot like, and first off, good on Aaron Rodgers, okay? Guy wants to win. You're putting your money where your mouth is. Now, I'd have to see the details of this, because a lot of times you see guys restructuring,
right,
and, it's couched as a pay cut. I can remember one time I restructured my deal in St. Louis, and people thought I took this big pay cut, and they were congratulating me on Twitter for a day and a half. No, not so. I'm getting that money later, but cool. I'll roll with it. Aaron Rodgers, he's trying to win right now, and he knows there are some holes in that roster, and they have an opportunity to fill those holes. And I think this is leading from the front, man. You can say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. If this is true, fuck, this is like unprecedented. And on top of that, the twisting of the knife is the folks in Appleton are like, why wouldn't he do that here? It's a lot like when a guy remarries and all of a sudden he's doing the dishes and he's taking the trash out and he's on his game, and his ex is like, you never did that for me. He's happier in New York, and if that doesn't last long, no big deal, because they got what they wanted. They got an elite quarterback at a discount now. And they're going to need it, because when you look at the AFC East, the best roster in the AFC East is the Dolphins. And I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, I think it's, however you define close, it's the Dolphins. It's probably the Bills after that. Just looking at their defense, Diggs, talented tight ends, Von Miller, Josh Allen, the whole thing. And then I think it's New York. And New York's going to have to do some things to make up some ground, as good as they're going to be, if they want to win the whole thing, which is why Aaron Rodgers is there. Wow, Joe Douglas. I mean, fucking, he's the whisperer. Fly on the wall. I'd love to be in that meeting. See Joe's face.
Salah seems happy. Salah today said of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the guy just glows in the dark.
It might be the ayahuasca. Was he... Well, if he glows in the dark, then I'm not so impressed with the whole, darkness thing. All right, so let's parlay the extension talk into who I think the biggest beneficiaries are in the 2023 season. And by this I mean, I had a hard time texting this out last night, but I thought it'd be interesting to look at players, coaches, people in the NFL who are going to benefit greatly from the presence of somebody new, or a change in the way that their team does something this year. And I think it's a good exercise, because players are not players, the same player every year. Like in the NFL, the variability in how somebody's career goes, a lot of it has to do with context. I mean, we have these conversations all the time, the context, the nuance around the running back position, the quarterback position, the whole thing. Justin Herbert, huge deal, record-breaking deal, right? We knew it was a matter of time. A lot of money for a social media QB. $52.5 million per year, top of market. The interesting angle is, what does it mean for Joe Burrow? And Nolan and I were talking about this earlier. Joe Burrow's at camp. He seems like he thinks everything's fine. Maybe this is just a waiting game to actually get the deal done. It was kind of a placeholder deal, and then we wanted to see what Justin Herbert did and top that. Maybe the deal's already done, because he doesn't look like he's sweating over this thing. And, again, the Chargers, the Bengals, they're not cash-happy teams. So big victory by Justin Herbert. You'd have to be so transcendently good and talented, because a lot of people point out that he hasn't won anything. A lot of you that are pointing that out would probably rather have Justin Herbert than the quarterback you have on your favorite team. And the interesting thing about him and the way I think he's going to get better this year is, we're just scratching the surface. The Joe Lombardi offense was tailored for a quarterback with average talent. So let me get this right. The benefactor is Kellen Moore. The beneficiary is Justin Herbert. And like Moore, if you look at his play sheet, it's fucking this. It's like a turnout book. And you've got a big menu, but it's based in spread. Like, so when you looked at Justin Herbert at spread, like he was just at Oregon, he was a spread guy. I mean, like Lombardi, you had all this underneath stuff. You didn't maximize his talent. I think Kellen's going to do wonders for him. I think, another thing with Kellen Moore, adding him to the equation is if you look at Justin Herbert last year inside the 10, they weren't very good. Like the low red where your money's made, the difference between scoring 31 and 23 points a game, that sort of thing, it's in the low red. And, I think they were at the bottom of the league inside the 10 last year. They were the worst point differential versus expectation in that area. And if you take it a step further, Dallas was number 1 in the red zone last year. Better than Kansas City, better than anybody. So, and you could chalk that up to a run game, an offensive line, that sort of thing. I don't think it's that simple. And I think Justin Herbert, with the weapons that he has, is going to have his best year yet. And if Brandon Staley doesn't fuck it up, this team should be there deep into January. And that's what he's going to have to do to satisfy people. And that's the way this game goes. So Justin Herbert, congratulations. Seems like a great kid. Doesn't seem like he's going to spend his money on much at all. He's got a little Andrew Luck in him. But he's a simple guy. I don't know what you're going to do with 52 a year. But good for him, and more AFC West adjacent stuff. I think a big loss for Kansas City is Orlando Brown. Donovan Smith from Tampa. I don't think it's an upgrade. Certainly not in every phase of the game. Obviously they're going to replace Wiley as well. So there's a lot of change at tackle. But Orlando Brown is going to be a beneficiary of blocking for Joe Burrow. Because if we know anything about Joe Burrow, is his timing is on point. His drop target, which is a thing a lot of people don't think about as a pass rusher for many years, is the first thing I looked at with quarterbacks. We used to chart it, is where is this guy settling in the pocket and taking that step off his back foot to deliver. Joe Burrow is the quickest in the league. I mean, he's up there. I mean, as far as when you combine release and drop target, he is a tough guy to rush. And I think he's got great vision. Orlando Brown, and I'm not taking a shot at Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes used to bail at will. Patrick Mahomes, he'd settle at 9 and drift to 11, and you don't know where he is, and that's tough for offensive linemen. Now, the trade-off is you got the best player in the world playing quarterback for you. He's not upgrading, with Joe Burrow, but what it does do is it makes Orlando Brown's job a little bit easier. That's a real thing, especially as a guy who struggles with speed a little bit. You got to run through him when the ball's out quick. So good for him. I also want to throw Mike Gesicki in the mix here. I'm a big fan of Mike Gesicki. I've been talking about, the fact that the Dolphins should have traded him to New England, I think, last year. Not New England. I forget where.
Packers.
The Packers. Well, that would have sucked for him. But Mike Gesicki in New England with Bill O'Brien, barely got any action last year. O'Brien loved using a tight end at Bama. They had a pro spread system. And the New England offensive philosophy has always been to try to dominate the middle of the field, although they haven't gotten a great ROI on guys like Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry can settle into more of that inline guy role, and Gesicki, you can split him out. You can do a ton of stuff with him. So matchup problems, middle of the field, play action pass, seam stuff. I like it. I like it for him, and I like it for the Pats. Here's a tight end for you, Reed, that you might like, and I think he's a big beneficiary in 2023. He's a guy that I'm really excited about. Do you have any guesses?
Well, I would maybe guess Adam Troutman, only because he went from the Saints to the Broncos. That might be my only thought.
You're getting warmer. It's Greg Dulcich.
Pretty boy.
Is he a pretty boy?
Oh, he's great. His long hair is just gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, he's a hot guy.
And I really like the sound of that.
Can you look that up, Make?
Yeah, Dulcich. Gorgeous. Not good. Football player.
Okay. Well, Dulcich, he got 5.5 targets last year over 10-game span. It's not a huge sample size, but I really liked what I saw from him. Another thing with him, the targets were really variable, and he caught the ball from Mark Rippon like a bunch. Okay, so and I don't know if that's much worse than catching the ball from Russell Wilson last year, because I went back and looked at every target that this guy had in 2023 or 2022 rather. And let me tell you, Reed, there were a lot of uncatchable balls. I mean, Russ was throwing him some stinkers. Some games they didn't really get the ball to him. Some games they threw him the ball like 10 times. So I think he's going to get a lot more action next year. I thought that anyways. But he's a backup high school quarterback, and Sean Payton loves these joker guys. He's foaming at the mouth over Greg Dulcich. He's saying I've been lucky. I've had Jeremy Shockey, I've had Witten, I've had Graham. Today was one of those days where you have a vision, and he's talking about Greg Dulcich. And he's saying, when Sean Payton, who we've had him on the pod, he's no stranger to telling you how he feels, right? Like, if anything, he's going to give you a little bit more than he probably should. But all indications are they're going to use this guy a lot. And as he defined a joker player, he said not a receiver. It's a running back tight end with exceptional ball skills, and then you can work matchups. This guy's always been great after the catch. You watch him catch the ball, make people miss. I think he averaged 17.6 yards per catch at UCLA. The guy can make a difference for you. And that backup quarterback thing, Sean loves that. So if we're tired of Taysom Hill, you might be hearing a lot about Greg Dulcich.
And that's what I was going to say. His yards after the catch were really good in last year's offense, and that's without Sean Payton. And he can scheme up well for, like you were saying, for a tight end. I'll say, just now that we're talking about Sean Payton, some beneficiaries are all the former New Orleans Saints guys that are now no longer on the Saints roster, but now have been scooped up by Sean Payton because they're out there. So little Jordan Humphrey, Marquez Callaway, you got Michael Burton, who's now the fullback for the Broncos, Tony Jones Jr., Adam Troutman, who I mentioned. All those dudes are former Saints that now have jobs because Sean Payton's back in the league.
And we didn't even mention Jared Cook, my old teammate who had a great year under Sean Payton, great couple years. That was like his prime. And that offense, again, context is a big part of it. And same thing with Ben Watson. He had Ben Watson looking like, a number one receiving tight end at times. So, he's always gotten a lot out of that position. I think this year he's going to get a lot out of Greg Dulcich. And I think he's going to have a really good year. David Montgomery, man. This is what I'm excited about. David Montgomery. I never thought that Chicago's offensive line was physical, even when Kyle was there. But needless to say, he kind of walks into a situation where the offensive line is not known for physicality. Now, Kyle's a grizzly bear, but not everybody on that offensive line was like that, and their scheme didn't really lend itself to physicality. He's a physical back, right? And that offensive line in Chicago is not anything to write home about. It wasn't last year. They're building it up, that sort of thing. But like for a running back, you talk about a short prime. Like I want to be somewhere like Detroit. And you talk about all those guys moving on a string last year. It was a thing of beauty to watch. I mean, they're not only good players, but they're well coached. And when you talk Dan Campbell, his commentary on how excited he is about David Montgomery, it's not just the run game, it's also the pass game. I mean, that was a differentiating factor for him when it came to Jamal Williams, who everybody loved, Swift, who's in Philly now, like letting those guys go and coveting somebody like a David Montgomery tells you how much, in division too, leaving Chicago, going to Detroit, it's a really good move for him. This offensive line's damn good. I think he's going to have a nice year. And Jamison Williams, if he's healthy and he's back and that sort of thing, at some point is going to help lighten the boxes there. And I don't know about box counts in Chicago, but I'm sure they weren't very good for a running back. And I think things will be better for him in Detroit.
David Montgomery didn't do himself many favors though. A week or two ago, when that video was posted of him with the workout band, he was it was the weighted workout band tied to the wall, and he was trying to run against it, and he got maybe 10 yards, tried to stop, and then ended up on his behind. Rolling back to the wall. But
you want to if you want to get hurt in the off season, that's the best way, because you're working out for football. Unlike Hines or we didn't talk about what's his name? He didn't get hurt. He had a dog emergency, but
Jordan Addison.
140 miles an hour up in Eden Prairie. Fucking kidding me, man? And by the way, dog emergency, I don't buy it at all. There's no dog emergency at 3 a.m. How does that work, Make? Talk me through it. You're at the club or wherever you are at 3 a.m. Somebody at home's like, there's a dog emergency. Well, take the dog to the fucking vet. Oh, I can't drive. Like, so I got to get home. Like, it makes no sense to me.
I will say the only dog emergencies that tend to happen on like a Sunday night, midnight, when your normal vet is closed and you have to go to the emergency vet, where they'll charge you 3 times the amount of a normal visit just to put a Valium up the backside of your pooch. So I can't envision the scenario. And if I'm driving 140 for anybody, it would be the Rabbit. May I shout out Tyrann Mathieu? I think especially this day and age, we're afraid of sometimes asking questions for fear of sounding dumb and getting embarrassed. But he asked the exact question I had on my mind when I read that Jimmy Graham was rejoining the Saints. He said he was talking to him in the training room for a few minutes and then decided he was either coaching or helping out with the coaching. So he said, "Are you coaching?" And Jimmy said, "Nah, I'm playing." And Tyrann said, "Okay, you look good. Looking forward to it." But good for the Honey Badger for asking the question. That's an awkward scene in the training room. So what are you going to be coaching? Yeah. Tight ends? Nah.
Yeah, it's an awkward scene. It's an awkward scene. So you're telling me Jimmy Graham's coming back?
Jimmy Graham is signed with the New Orleans Saints.
How long's he been out of football?
Since 21.
So he's been out 2 years
two
now.
full seasons. Yeah.
2 full seasons. And I've been out how long?
Feels like
4.
an eternity.
4.
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, I know it does. Believe you me, same thing.
Jimmy Graham is also 2 years older than Gronk, so if you want to put in your Gronk bets that maybe he might show up on a team this year, wouldn't be the worst.
Jimmy's 36.
Jimmy Graham and Gronk feel totally different physically. I guarantee it. But I've been working out hard up here, and the other day I almost texted Joe Douglas to be like, "Yo, bro, I mean, like if 4 people get hurt, just holler. I'm up at 253. I'm feeling good. I've been running a mile at least every morning, Macon.
Wow.
You know how out of the box that is for me? 4 years out, honestly, I think this is the year.
But like August or like December?
Like beginning of October. That's usually where I turned it on.
Okay.
You know the thing that Jeff Fisher told you, don't retire in months that start with J? Does that also go for unretire?
I think so. So. Yeah, exactly. Well, you can't unretire in January. It's the playoffs. Right. And you don't want to do it in the summer because you don't want to show up at camp. Like the best part about unretiring is, it's slipping in the building when everybody's already done the hard work. And, when I almost unretired in Philly, I came in the building and I thought everybody had already done the hard work. And then I had to sit in a meeting with Jim Schwartz for 3 hours. I'm like, well, buddy, we've met a bunch before. I'm not like a new human being. So I think, when it comes to unretirement, it's a dance. You got to time it right. And
doing Eric Weddle, he came back like just for the playoffs, right, with the Rams that one year.
I would do it. No bullshit. I think I would do it this year because I'm finally taking care of myself to the point where I feel like if somebody hit me, I wouldn't fall apart. I can give you 10 to 15 a game, no problem. So yeah, Joe, you got a little cap space.
Yeah.
Holler at your boy.
Chris Long, beneficiary of Aaron Rodgers' cap restructure.
Exactly. I'd skip the vaccine for that.
We got some jersey number issues in New York, though. That might be a problem.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll worry about that later. I did like their all whites though that they debuted. All right, that's football. Good to be back with you, Meg.
Likewise. Let's do it again.